And we're live. Happy Thursday, everybody, and welcome to A Nice Place to Brew. I'm Jason.
And I'm George.
And I'm Paulie.
And welcome Zach Gelfond from Mundelein, Illinois, to the webcast tonight. Hello, Zach.
Hello, everybody. Hello.
All right. It's great to have you. Zach is a wealth of knowledge on Belgian beers, so I think we're going to have a lot to talk about tonight. So before we get into the meat of tonight's webcast, welcome everybody to A Nice Place to Brew. We do the webcast here every Thursday. It's available on Facebook and YouTube. Our YouTube page has all of our past episodes. So check out on YouTube A Nice Place to Brew for all of our back episodes dating back to the beginning of COVID. We've built quite a library during that time. We have an audio podcast under the same name, A Nice Place to Brew. It's available on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and all the major podcasting platforms. Our website is www.aniceplacetobrew.com, and our social media links are A Nice Place to Brew and Nice Place to Brew. And I would be hard-pressed to, without acknowledging before we get started, we have a brand new audio podcast that is set to release tomorrow morning. That would be Friday, December 4th. We did a full podcast for the first time in a while devoted to the Pabst Blue Ribbon Award from the Chicago World's Fair back in 1893. It's a great episode. Our good friend John Bitterman, the local Illinois beer historian, joined us and once again shared his wealth of knowledge. I think it's a great episode, and I hope you'll enjoy it. So watch your audio platforms tomorrow, and if you're hearing this late, check it out now and let us know what you think. Mm-hmm. All right, now on to the important stuff. What is everybody drinking tonight?
I've got myself a Brickstone Permanent Vacation.
Okay.
It is quite yummy.
Nice.
Yeah, I love the artwork on the can itself. I'll put it right up to that thing.
I agree.
Yeah.
The purple is just a beautiful color in all its forms.
Cool.
The beer is perfect and beautiful in all its forms as well.
Excellent.
It's a Citra IPA. Is it more of a West Coast style?
It's not really. It's a little. It's not really West Coast. It's not really East Coast.
Okay.
New England.
So
it's a little
Midwest.
tasty, but I mean, they're Bourbonnais.
Yeah.
But it's very, very tasty.
Right on.
All right.
George?
I've got my last can of Southern Tier Nitro Creme Brulee Imperial Milk Stout. So
that sounds good.
It
sure
is
does. Good. It is quite good. Yeah, a little sweet. It's got a lot of those kind of brulee flavors, like the caramelized sugar, and it comes through pretty good.
Nice.
No.
And Mr. Paulie Bidney?
I am drinking a Citra IPA that is a very first homebrew recipe that I scaled up at the brewery and is now on tap as of today. Predominantly,
Nice.
I did. I remember years ago when I was doing this. This is back in the day. I had like 4 or 5 fermenters full, and I accidentally put an extra half ounce of size in a beer, and I tried it, and I'm like, "Oh, this is really good." And I did it once without it, and I'm like, you know what? Size is going back in there, so now here we are. Now I'm selling it to the masses, and hopefully we'll do good with it.
So
All
tonight
right.
you're doing quality control on it?
No, not really. I mean,
No.
that was last night.
Quality
That was
control
last
is
night.
like-
Tonight, the mug clubbers are drinking on it. It was Thursday night. Mug clubbers get to drink it.
Oh, okay.
right.
Okay.
All right.
All right. That joke just blew up in my face. All right.
I got it. Yeah. What about yourself, Jason?
Okay, so keeping on the IPA track that we're all clearly on, I have a beer I'm trying for the first time. It's from Phase 3 Brewing Company out of Lake Zurich. And this is called Devious Methods. It's an American double IPA. Hops are Eldorado, Galaxy, and Amarillo. And it's a double. It's 8.4%.
Nice.
It's a perfect IPA color, and it's quite tasty. The 8% is hidden quite well. I will say this is a beer that would be dangerous.
This one is too, now that I think about it, because it is 10%, and I'm not tasting any of that.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Paulie, you are broadcasting from said brewery, it looks like?
Yeah, I'm in the storage room.
That's awesome.
Classy.
If I was in the brew house, I couldn't hear you guys because we have cookie making in the other room, so can't go there. We got people in the bar. The only way I can hear you guys, so I was like, I'm gonna go hang out in the storage room, bring out a folding table, and do it from there.
You know what?
I had a rough day today. I had a stuck mash again.
Oh,
it took me like 3 hours to transfer from frickin' the mash tun to the fucking kettle.
Oh,
I was actually, and then on top of it off, Jason, you've been down there. You know how it works. Like you get transferred waiting for heat. I was boiling when I was graining out today, so I had to grain out, chill, and everything. Actually, at the end of the day, I had to clean all the vessels after I was done brewing.
Oh, jeez.
So, Polly, are you using rice hulls in your recipes?
Yeah, I am, but I didn't use enough this time.
Mm.
Like I only used like a 3/4 of a bucket, and I should have put twice as much in there because I had flaked oats and flaked wheat in there. Like,
oh yeah, oh man.
As I was graining out, I literally had to scoop the shit off my fucking false bottom just to get it to clear out.
Yeah,
So,
for anybody that doesn't know, Polly just said the two ingredients that are the worst when it comes to stuck sparges. Like,
true.
The only thing you can do that's worse than that is pour glue in your mash tun. But flaked oats and wheat are definitely, candidates for a stuck sparge. What's up, Zach?
Glue at 155 degrees might be pretty fluid. You might actually be better off with glue.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
I haven't tried it. It's non-toxic though.
True. That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a terrible point.
It's like our good buddy Brando once said, you can throw a boot in a mash tun so long as you boil afterwards.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah.
I'm starting to understand that a lot nowadays.
Yeah.
I mean, what after the boil, then you start getting really scared. Then you gotta get real meticulous about everything.
Exactly.
Exactly. Doing a Belgian.
Unless you're doing a Belgian.
Okay.
Oh, that's true.
Perfect segue.
Wow.
All right.
I should get in the podcast game.
Well, let's you want to segue into that?
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
George, I know you look like you're itching. Do you want to throw a question at Zach?
Zach, I mean, I don't know if Jason's told you, but Belgians are like my go-to when it comes to beer. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the esters and the especially the banana flavor that comes through in a lot of them. And they tend to be more malt forward, which is what I'm really kind of looking for in a beer. I'm not a big fan of the IPAs and things. But what is it about the Belgian varieties that kind of, that you're drawn towards?
There's a couple of things, and it really depends on if I'm making it or if I'm buying it. And if I'm buying it, it's the balance of flavors that you can get from a brewer who can do a Belgian style, who knows what the hell they're doing. It's unlike any other beverage or food in the entire world, and it goes with everything, every environment, every food. You can drink a whole bunch of them and feel really good and not feel sick and not feel full. And when you're making them, there is no easier beer to make than a Belgian beer. It is I have been my most recent goal in brewing at home has been, what is the lowest amount of effort I can put into a beer and still make it pretty good?
Okay.
Pico brew?
Screw the Pico brew.
Just if I put this much effort and I get this much return, it's a concept of diminishing returns. It's true in everything in life, and it's also true in effort with homebrew. And you can put practically no effort into your Belgian and get a pretty darn good beer. And if you, I've tried this, so don't try this at home, everybody. If you try to put no effort into your IPAs, they taste like shit. They're terrible. They're absolutely awful. IPA is
Yeah.
a science, and Belgians are an art. And
Ye-
it's okay if you don't hit your fermentation temperatures. You're going to get a different beer, but the range of temperature that you can hit on your fermentation with your Belgian beers, you can go too low and it's fine. It'll be phenolic. It won't be super estery. And if you go super hot, it'll be super estery and it won't be phenolic and it'll still be really good. And if you get somewhere in between, you'll get something in between and it's still really good.
I mean, you're right. We have some people say, oh well, pilsners are so basic, they must be easy to make, and it's kind of the exact opposite. Like
Well,
the more
I would posit that the brewers at Budweiser are probably the world's greatest brewers.
because
I've heard that same argument, and what they
It's a
say to
delicate thing, and the fact that you can brew the same thing at different places in the entire world, and have it taste bad, but still exactly the same every time, no matter where if you're brewing it in St. Louis or Atlanta, and you're using different water sources, and different grain species or varietals, and the fact that you can get it to taste exactly the same on something that is so delicate is amazing.
Yeah.
Doing that with a stout is easy as stouts and porters are also super easy to do at home because they leave you so much room for error. Off topic. I don't know. I was off topic.
no, it's fine because you're right, and I look at a lot of that refinement, but especially what you're talking about with the Belgians, I understand. You're right. It is a little bit more of an art because you can put a minimal amount of effort into it and get a really good base beer, and then it's like any art form. You refine it, you practice, you add more detail and things like that, and you go from a good to a great beer, and that's really easy to do, and you can see some pretty significant returns with the Belgian varieties. That a lot of the other ones is just, did you make a good beer or did you not? But there's that range with the Belgians.
Did you chill fast enough? Did you get a skunky old set of hops? There's a lot of stuff that can go wrong.
Mhm.
But if you're a yeast driven style, which Belgian styles are yeast driven, and yet your yeast is still flexible. And again, if you brew it or if you ferment it at 68 or you ferment it at 82, you're going to get a vastly different beer, but both of them are going to be good. So if your yeast is so flexible in that in the temperature range that you can still make a good beer on either side of the spectrum, there it frees you up to do whatever the hell you want. I am part of the North Urban. It's really hard to see. I'll tilt it this way. This way? Can you see it? No. I'm part of the North Urban Brewing Society, which is based in Libertyville, Illinois, also called Nubs, which was a dick joke. And we did a set of experiments one year where we all brewed the same recipe, except for one time we used different grain. One time we all did a single hop, but it was a different hop varietal, and then one time we did yeast, and we used different yeasts, and then one of the brewers did one of the I forget which Belgian strain it was, but he did an experiment within the experiment where he fermented at different temperatures. So he brought in he had a 15-gallon batch, so he split it into 3 5-gallon fermenters. One of them was fermented at 66, one of them was fermented at 76, and one was fermented at 86. And the beers couldn't be more different, but every single one of them was incredible in its own way. The one that was 66 was phenolic, and it was just, perfect there. And then on the other side of the spectrum, it was like a sweaty sock, in a good way. It was just the funkiest funky funk that you ever tasted, and it was still perfect.
So I think we should take a moment to drop back for those that aren't familiar with some of the terms. You've mentioned estery beers and phenolic beers. So what would you say? What would be the best representation from a taste palette, situation for those two different terms?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
esters are easy. Esters are fruit. Anything that you taste that tastes fruity, whether like you were talking about, George, with bananas, that's an ester. An ester is, I used to know this, a combination of an alcohol, a sugar, and a something else. And phenols are they're they're described in beer as spice, which is a terrible way to describe it. We just don't have the language. Like, the language doesn't match with our ability to taste things. Where did he go? Where did he go?
He'll be back.
Yeah. They just our language and our palates don't really match up with our phenols. But you get things like, people call it maybe peppery, spicy. Sometimes you'll get like bad ones like medicinal, but it's sort of in like that kind of family. And then on the ester side, you can get things like vinous, which is generally considered a bad thing, though I kind of like it. So more like wine-like flavors. And you can get bananas, you can get citrusy stuff. So anything that's sort of fruity is going to be an ester. Anything that's yeast driven that's not fruity is going to be a phenol. That's probably not true if you were to ask a flavor scientist, but it's close enough for us.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying, and you're right that phenolic isn't exactly spicy, especially in like a pepper kind of way. But it does tend to bring out notes of, like you said, black pepper, and sometimes like a what's like a cumin kind of flavor. So it is more reminiscent of like plant spices and things that you get. So, and then the trick with some, sorry.
I was gonna say the perfect style of beer where you can like taste this balance in action is the Hefeweizen. Where when you ferment a Hefeweizen at the lower end of your fermentation range, you'll get a phenol that tastes kind of like clove, and then at the higher end you'll get an ester that tastes like banana. And so a good Hefeweizen, in my opinion, good is your own definition. Everybody, that's to me, a good Hefeweizen is one that has a balance of both the phenolic and the ester profile. So some clove, some banana.
Right. And clove is the other one I was forgetting. Thank you. Yeah, and so like where I was going was, sometimes especially when you're talking about those German and Belgian styles, like the more meaty ones where you're talking about like a Double or a Hefeweizen or things like that, hitting that balance and getting a little bit of both of those flavors can really bring out a lot of character in the beer without adding any adjuncts at all. You haven't added any fruit, you haven't added any spices, you're purely getting that from the yeast, which I think is part of what draws me towards the Belgian varieties, because I think a lot of people forget how much yeast can add to the character of the beer. They're putting together their recipe and I'm just going to pick a Belgian yeast because I'm making a Belgian beer, but it's
If
can
I
add a lot.
Let me jump in there right there. I mean, because I don't think we can understate that point. When we talk about the ingredients to make beer, water, malt, hops, and yeast in just about every style will be the biggest contributor to the overall flavor of the beer.
Yeah, that's, I mean, at the very least on par with the other parts. I mean, like,
yes,
different. You can, like you said, Zach. I mean, part of what makes the big brewers impressive is they can take different water and make the same beer.
Yeah,
and it's like when you take a Coke made in the U.S. versus a Coke made in Mexico, a lot of the taste differences you get there are because of the water. Mm-hmm. And they've just turned that into a thing. But, with beer, it's...
Turn it into a thing than it is to fix it.
Yeah, well...
that's a good point.
But yeah, I mean, there's so many different varieties of yeast, and I don't even like. Part of me wants to study the biology to understand how they do it, but I'm like, damn,
Have
that's a
you
lot.
read the Brewer Element series on yeast?
Hmm.
It okay. Well then, I don't have any more information.
Yeah.
It's a treatise about yay thick
Yeah.
for those who haven't read it, which is probably 97% of
Hmm.
the people who are super into brewing, much less the population of your listeners. It's 250 pages that goes into yeast biology and genealogy and all sorts of. It's a living organism. It's a
It
Yeah.
is.
that makes magic. We brewers make wort, and yeast makes beer.
Yeast
Yep.
does the rest. It really does.
Or you
Yeah, those books are very, very thorough, and
And
yeast
Oh
is
yeah.
just one of them.
the good thing is, like, as an enthusiast, you can get something out of it, and as a professional, I would assume you could also get something out of it because you can either like skip the genomic sequence of specific yeast because who the hell cares, and who knows genomic science. Um, but you could also read that if you're into it. So you can get something out of it regardless of your brewing level.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely, and yeah, no, I did read through that. In fact, I was the weirdo on a beach in Florida reading yeast, and whereas everyone's
Oh,
reading like
this is a great story.
fun fiction books, I'm slogging through yeast trying to. Yeah, I tell you that the only one that was a harder slog than that one was water.
Was water, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Malt wasn't so bad. I've actually thought malt
Yeah.
was pretty good. But that yeast book plus a little bit of sun. It must have been a nice nap, George.
Yes, you're
Yeah.
not wrong.
Really into your yeast science to really think that that's a very interesting book.
Yeah, you're not wrong. It was definitely a good nap.
About a month ago, we had a microbiologist who joined the webcast, and she is a college instructor at the Joliet Junior College, and she had a wealth of knowledge to share on yeast and yeast cultivation here on the show. So that's one of the good things is we've been able to learn a lot about yeast, not so much from doing deep dives on books like that, but just having conversations with people that are just really knowledgeable on various subjects. So
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's the next great like undiscovered country for me is, building a yeast lab and being able to do that. So yeah.
Power to you. You should try and find some wild yeast, somewhere around where you live and cultivate that. Get yourself
Cultivate
a
that.
proprietary yeast strain, and that's how a lot of the Belgians started their yeast strains was from wild stuff blowing in overnight.
Yeah, I mean, and from what I understand, a lot of to this day still use, well, not a lot, but some of them still use the open fermenters and
Yeah.
basically refuse to clean their rafters because whatever is up there is kind of the yeast strain,
Shudder to think that they don't clean the rafters because there's other stuff up there. But I mean, there's a lot of brewers that'll do like cool ships, which is a flat open container essentially that you leave into the cold night air, and like you were saying, whatever blows in, and it could be a yeast, it could be a bacteria, who the hell knows, and in the morning if it still tastes good, whatever, cultivate that and keep brewing with that thing.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
We tried that as an experiment in the North Urban Brewing Society as well. That did not go as well at brewing with a different yeast. That one was a gross night. There's a lot of gross.
So when you say you may pick up yeast, you may pick up bacteria. Was it the latter that you ended up picking up?
It's impossible to say.
Yeah.
But I mean, like you could have there's yeast that isn't brewer's yeast that you can pick up that'll eat the sugars, and it's not going to taste very good.
Right.
True.
It's-
True.
yeah.
So
It's going to produce some byproducts that we don't want, you know? Yeah.
So I'm going to feel like a real newbie asking this question, but we're on the topic of cool ships right now. And anytime I hear people talk about cool ships, the style that people ended up talking about is sours.
Mm.
So it's a little bit off the normal path when we talk about Belgians in that context. So are there other styles besides those two that are more conducive to fermenting with cool ships than others?
there's so when you say sour, I think that is that tends to be the euphemism used for wild beers or wild
True.
fermented beers,
Right.
because most of them tend to be sour. And then there's also brewers who are cheating and doing kettle sours and things like that. But their kettle sours are just fine too, everybody. Whatever you like. But so I mean, wild fermented beers, you can have any combination of flavors you could possibly imagine, and it's just they don't really fit neatly into any style, so they're given their own category with the BA for the professional competitions. They're given their own category for homebrew competitions, and it's essentially, instead of trying to fit it within like the Pilsner style, and do you have the in your Czech Pilsner, do you have like the Sazi flavor to it? It's, does your beer taste good?
Right.
It should be the basis for all judging, in my opinion. But for this one, it's the one category, that and like wood aged beers are the two where they don't really have any style guidelines. There's no color that you have to have for your wild beer. There's no malt character that you have to have for your wild beer. It's strictly, does your beer taste good? And that's that's a little, as a brewer, that's a little freeing. And as a you never know what you do when it says American Wild Ale. It's one where it's helpful to have something like Untapped, where you could go in and read everybody's completely contradictory reviews of the beer. Some say it's way too sweet, some say there's no sweetness, it's super dry, and you never really know anyway. And so you pick up the bottle and you buy it, and it really comes down to, do you trust the brewer? So I mean, someone like Jolly Pumpkin, they do excellent wild beers. They use cool ships for all of it, and Avery does a lot of those. So if you trust the brewer and you know that they're not going to put out something that tastes like it's not, then you never know what you're going to get into until you take that first sip. But I'm sure it's going to be good.
Yeah. And the other way that I've heard that you can do it is, especially if you live next to an orchard or things like that, like an apple orchard, is you can actually take a piece of fruit off the tree and just dip it in your beer, because that piece of fruit will have collected yeast, and sometimes you can get a cleaner wild yeast profile than just doing a cool ship, because bacteria and things tend to not stick around on the outside of fruit and things. So
grape skins are the big ones for wild yeast.
Grape skins are another one, yeah. But pretty much any fruit that's just like sitting out, because it's just going to collect that wild yeast. And it's why if you let a lot of fruit sit around for a long time, it's probably going to ferment, and
See those drunk raccoons.
True.
Right, yeah. I just saw a video of a squirrel that got into some fermented peaches, and that poor critter, he didn't know what was going on.
Am I allowed to swear? I'm sorry.
I've seen many videos with the squirrels getting into the fermented pumpkins, and they're roaring around, twitching, like
Yeah.
Anything with sugar.
Well, just to echo that fact, I do make wine during the fall, So for the third year running, I've made trips up to Wisconsin to pick grapes, smash them, and then we bring the smashed grapes down from Wisconsin here to Illinois. We handle fermentation and everything after that fact here. But at the point that the grapes get smashed, the first thing that we do before we even load them into our car is add Camden tablets, which gives us about 24 to 48 hours before that fruit starts fermenting. And that's the only way that it ends up working, because if you didn't do that, what you guys are describing is exactly what would happen. You'd have a spontaneous fermentation start up just on the car ride home, which would be a disaster.
It depends if you had an airlock on your bucket.
I mean,
If you home and you're not driving anymore, just put a cup in there, see what happens. You're a newlywed. Let the night take you where it takes you.
it's not a bad idea. I mean, to just take a small sample and just see what that would do. I like.
At the very least.
It's a little difficult for me to imagine that would ferment down all the way, because I mean that's one unique thing about wine yeast is all the grape sugar is all fermentable. So a packet of wine yeast will ferment down all the way just down below the point of 1.00. So would wild yeast do that? I would imagine not, but it'd be something to test out.
I would think that probably the wild yeast may be maybe not than a wine yeast, but more effective than a brewer's yeast at fermenting sugars. Because typically, like when you get things that you don't want in your beer, like Brettanomyces, that will eat through a car if you give it enough time. And so a lot of those wild and typically unsavory kinds of fermenters are really strong fermenters over a long period of time. Now, Jason, if you're talking a couple of days, you're probably not going to see that much fermentation. Especially when you haven't unlocked the sugars the way that you would do in a mash or something like that. But if you were to, put one of those in a dark room for 6 months, you're going to get some weird stuff growing on it. But
no question you would.
You guys, I do have to go because I have young children.
Right on.
Okay.
But I will leave you with this advice if you haven't done it so already. Is to follow Y Yeast on Facebook, because every Monday they do something called Pellicle Monday, which is where they take a picture of the top of somebody's fermenter that has fermented on purpose with some sort of wild or unusual yeast or bacteria, and the fermentations with these things look disgusting. They look absolutely disgusting. And you can even get what is called your beer being sick, where it turns into the consistency of snot, which is it's a good thing. And so I highly encourage you all to follow Y Yeast on Facebook. Check out Pellicle Monday. There's usually like giant white bubbles of stuff that looks like mold on the top of people's fermenters, and then they just the yeast eats it down, it eats it back up, and it farts out this amazing beer every time.
All right, well, Zach, if you need to run, I do want to.
Thank you very much.
No, you're totally fine. I do want to invite you when all this COVID crap is done. We're gonna take a road trip up to Massachusetts to the only official Trappist brewery in the U.S. And you're more than invited, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's on the bucket list. So
yeah.
I go for Nacho as Michelangelo.
I'll get on the Trappist part.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I apologize. I have a 2-year-old who is potty trained, so I need to.
You got it.
No worries.
Zach Gelfand, thank you so much for joining us. Have a great night, okay?
You too.
Cheers.
See you, thanks.
All right.
All right.
So
my storage plug didn't work. Sorry, guys.
That's okay.
I was losing my Wi-Fi.
You're all right.
So I took a break.
Ah.
Now I'm in the brew house. Jason can tell you. I think Jason knows where I'm at in the brew house right now.
I do. I do. Yeah.
I'm trying to be as clear as possible.
Yeah. Honestly, that's quite a nice image that you got. That's the perfect backdrop here for the webcast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I would rather it be this. Let's see if I can do it. Oh, other way.
Thanks. Here we go. Barrels. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
All right.
I'm over by the barrels, Jason. You know where I'm at. So
What do you have the laptop resting at?
I
You have
found
a- oh, did you bring a folding table or something?
No, I found one in the building.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. All right. Okay.
And actually, it's been kind of like my extra table that I keep shit on and everything over here.
Hey, it's important.
I was actually talking to Steve before he left. I'm like, hey, tables? The table would be nice. He's like, yeah, there's a couple here. I found one. I don't know. It's probably like a 3-foot table. Perfect for me, you know? So that's what I had. That's what I had set up in the storage room. But the Wi-Fi wasn't getting through the walk-in and the 2 bathrooms back over there. And I'm not doing my webcast from the walk-in because fuck you, that's cold in there.
No. No.
Come on, man, sacrifice.
I would never ever ask anybody under any circumstances to do that.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? Okay. I am trying to find that page that Zach was referencing about the Yeast Mondays, and I'm on the main Core Y Yeast Laboratories page, and I am not finding this. Did I
Didn't
hear that
sound like
wrong?
it was a. It didn't sound like it was a page. It sounded like that it was kind of a post that they do on Mondays.
Well, that should be
So,
here right on the page, unless they just delete them.
Well, yeah.
Well, that could be a one of the proprietary ones where they do the special blend releases every year or every quarter. Private collector or something like that. Y Yeast does that every 3 months. They release a certain batch of yeast.
Okay.
Well, we might need to get Zach to send us some examples so we can get on the same page.
I might have to.
I think
I'm
it's
all
private
kinds of
collection.
interested in what he was saying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he was fun. It's a shame he had to go so quick. But
I know.
Love to meet another Belgian fan. You know.
He's
I had
a
so many
wealth of
questions,
knowledge.
especially the Belgian I have in the tank right now. You know.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I
I'm
did
sure we
something
can put that together again.
I
So
know,
Oh,
sure
yeah.
we could.
Yeah.
But I did something today that I've known all about it, but I've never ever done it in my life, and it was so fucking weird. I pitched some Quebec yeast today, the boss. And I looked at the temperature range between 62 and 98.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
As I'm watching my beer, as I figure out how to use my chiller, I'm watching my beer going at 90 degrees. I'm like, I'm gonna kill every part of this fucking yeast. But I know it's not gonna.
Not a Quebec yeast.
Not Quebec. Yeah. Now your fermentation might be done in about 3 days, but you won't kill it.
That's kind of what I'm shooting for here.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. It's actually kind of funny because Jason, you know what? Remember, like first time when you came down here when I started,
Yeah.
how the board was half empty.
Yeah.
I have one line open now, and we're starting to do specials to clear lines up for what we have coming up in the tanks.
Wow.
Well, that's a sign of the work that you've done. All
Yeah.
that beer is turned, and now all the beer is yours, and now it's being served up.
Soon, soon the whole board will be
Yeah.
mine.
Well, I mean, you're certainly making very quick progress towards that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like
That's
I look
so
on the
awesome.
board, and there's like 4 beers that I brewed. Only 2 of them are like my own recipes, but I still brewed.
Yeah.
100% what was there.
On that day, we need to celebrate in all Poly Brewery.
Of course.
Yeah.
How has traffic been throughout Route 66 Old School Brewing as of late?
What do you mean? Now that 55's open?
Oh yeah. I mean, just now. I mean, just are there a lot of people coming through?
We got a decent amount of people. I mean, granted, like I'm here usually. You know me. I start early. I might stick around for an hour after they open, maybe
Sure.
2. And there's always people here. I mean, it's kind of funny because I'm here by myself all the time, and I actually look forward to when it opens up. I got somebody to fucking talk to.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
You know-
I'd feel the same way.
You know, like I'm here by myself with my thoughts and my music all the time.
Yeah.
And like there's times I'm like, oh, thank God they're going to be here in 10 minutes. At least I got someone to talk to.
Yeah. After 8 hours on your own, just scooping out grain and stuff.
Scooping grain, doing what I'm doing, you know.
Yeah.
Although I do got to admit, I really want to thank all the regulars and the family because it's kind of we're a big family down here. Like if I need help, like with mashing in because Steve and Tina are gone, they're normally my go-to.
Sure.
So I've reached out to so many regulars and bartenders, and they're sending like their husbands and boyfriends to come in and help me out for the half hour that I need help for.
That's so awesome.
I mean, we call ourselves Old School Brewing. I don't know how much old school that is, and right there.
Yeah. you could almost call it Route 66 Family Brewing.
Yeah, I know. We could.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Paulie's a brewer now, like an official brewer. He has to have a big, majestic, bushy beard.
Yes.
Don't ever trust a brewer that doesn't have facial hair. That's my theory.
That's what he said. Don't ever trust a brewer that doesn't have facial hair.
See, the one person I always hear, I've always heard that nearby is Brando.
About that.
You got Brando, you got Dave Benny, you got Brian Shimkos. I trust all three of them.
Yeah, no, me too. Me too. Those are the exceptions to the rule.
Notable exceptions that prove the rule. Yeah.
Well said. Notable exceptions to the rule. Yes.
Yeah. So, just because I put it as the description for this show for no reason whatsoever, I just feel like I gotta say, Buffalo. Yeah, it's not great.
I mean, what are the Buffalo Bills doing? They're gonna miss the playoffs, right?
Right, and Sabres. I mean, come on. Yeah. So
I hope Scott's watching to hear us knock on that shit.
I invited him, but I know, and I was kind of hoping that description would trigger something in his mind, and he'd feel like he'd have to come defend himself. So.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
You know the name that they give to Cleveland. The joke around Cleveland is they nickname themselves the Mistake by the Lake.
I did not know that.
You did not know that? Oh yeah,
no, I did not know that.
It's widely talked about the Cleveland area. So I guess my question is Buffalo mistake number 2?
Well, then you got Indiana and Illinois and Wisconsin and Michigan are all states by the lake.
Yeah.
Well, different lakes.
Different lakes. Yep.
But we're still a state by the fucking Great Lakes. So.
Okay. So all the Great Lakes are just one big
mistake.
One big
Well, but then you got
one big body of water, all of them collectively.
Yeah, I mean, but then you got Cleveland, how they polluted their rivers. I mean,
and set it on fire.
Yeah, Burning River.
Yeah.
The Burning River from I forgot what brewery that is, but the reason they named that after is the river was literally on fire.
Yep.
Brewery in Cleveland. I can't think of the name off the top of my head.
See, I never heard that story in regards to a brewery. Can I get a little more detail on this?
The brewery wasn't involved. They just named it after the fact that the river caught on fire. I don't remember what it is either, Polly, but I know they did that.
I think it was Rock Bottom. No. It wasn't Rock Bottom.
They're from Colorado.
Oh, Rock Bottom's they have breweries all over the country.
No, I know, but originally they're from Colorado. Yeah.
I'm getting a brain fart because they had a few of them and they were from Cleveland. Whatever. They'll come to me in a minute and I'll just blurt it out in a mid-conversation. So.
Okay. All right. So now I feel like I have fulfilled the promise.
Great Lakes Brewing Company did Burning River.
Oh, did Burning
River.
They named a beer after it. That's what it was. Yeah, you're right.
That's fitting.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was going to blurt it out.
So now that I feel like I've completed the mission of this particular episode, what else do we got?
I don't know. Let's talk. I don't know. I didn't know.
Yeah. By
had
talking
Zach here and
By talking smack on
talking
Buffalo.
smack about Buffalo. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll tell you, we do have a new audio podcast episode coming, and I was really happy to get back into the swing of things on that. That was a lot of fun. I mean, this
too.
is
Me too.
a ton of fun, but I want to get back into the audio podcasting more. I think we owe that to people.
Well, I like.
I had a lot of fun because it was like, granted, George, you're in Virginia, but like Jason and I were sitting across the table, and like we had questions and we're answering it to each other.
Mm-hmm.
So we can at least keep in the conversation type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I did enjoy that because I've only done one other audio podcast, and that was with the other guy that never responds to us. That's now working for Phase 3 that Jason's drinking. We won't mention no names.
Okay.
Well, I felt the same way. It was a great experience getting back to that. I like the way we did that too. We had one specific topic that we were focused on, and I think that flowed very naturally. And I think that's probably a framework that we want to repeat.
Well, and we are going to. We don't exactly have a date pinned down yet, but probably sometime in December we're going to do an episode on sour beers.
Yes,
which we teased at the end of end of this one, and I'm looking forward to that, and I think that having that as a running thing at least for a little while would be a good one. If we can wrangle Zach at some point, I don't think we've dedicated an episode to Belgian beers in the past. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
I would be more than willing to do that, and I'm sure Zach would too.
Yeah. So
cool.
it's let's see. I will admit this. My brewing is on hold at the moment. But it's for a good reason. I'm redesigning my brew house to make it, a better, more powerful brew house, and can do. I'm sorry.
You got steam coming in. You doing a boiler system?
No, that's actually not a bad idea.
Yeah.
But no.
if you see his setup, you'd see why that's really a good idea.
Yeah. No. Yeah. But no, I am gonna stick with the propane for a little while until I can get a 220 line out there and maybe set up an electric brewery. But
don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't fucking do it. Go. Direct.
Why not? Okay, now this is an interesting conversation, Paulie. Why? What do you have against an electric brewery?
The fucking time it takes to heat shit.
Okay.
And what Jason can attest to it. This is what I'm dealing with down here. I have an all-electric brew system. Like when I finally do my transfer, and I'm at like 160 degrees once I'm in the kettle. It's about, if I'm lucky, a degree a minute. So when you're done sparging and you got your full collection and you're at 160 degrees and you need to get to 212, you got 62 minutes if you're lucky to get a boiler.
Okay.
So, and granted, I always use like banjo burrs and, the propane direct heat. Never had to deal with it like that. I mean, maybe I'm dealing with a quantity that I'm dealing with.
Well, I'm wondering that is if at a smaller quantity, if that would. Now, granted, your coils are probably a lot more powerful than what I would have, but I'm wondering if at a smaller quantity, so you're dealing with hundreds of gallons, and I'm dealing with 7.5 ish.
I'm not hundreds. I'm dealing with like 97 on a brew.
Okay, almost 100 gallons. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
if you see the pots that Paulie is working with, you've got two sets of coils that sit fairly low into the kettle. So there's a whole lot of room that heat has to then expand to get to a boil. So that does largely explain kind of the time that it takes to boil. But George, your point is well taken. That with a lower volume and for less space around for that heat to go, you're looking at substantially less time than what Paulie's struggling with.
Yeah, because it's at one point you're talking about surface area. I mean, no matter how
Right.
big your coils are, it still has to, heat, so, and the other thing that I'd be a little worried about with your setup, Polly, and I'm not sure if you worry about this or not, is hot spots. Wherever the coils are is going to be noticeably hotter than the center, and yeah.
But like, it was kind of funny because I had our buddy John Bitterman come by and check out my system, and he was asking about like evenly heating, and then I'm like, "What do you think about direct fire?" I mean, in my opinion, now that I've seen both ends of pro and home brewer, I mean, if you could do a steam system, that's the best way to go. If you got the way to do a steam system, because you can get jackets all throughout it, you can heat it evenly. Like I got my 2 coils on the bottom, and then it raises. And then the thing that cracks me up the most is I have never dealt with a boil over as much as I have here. I could be like 15 minutes ago, I hear my kettle go kerwhoop. I look at there's wort all over my stand. I'm like, how
and that's
get a boil over with 15 minutes to go on the system?
Well, and that's kind of what I'm wondering about the hot spots, because if to get everything boiling, the outside, wherever the coils are, has to be at like 200 and probably 20 degrees. So when it does hit that boil, it's just gonna go, So,
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, the steam systems, you got the MacGyver wheels spinning in my head. I'm sure Jason saw that familiar look on my face. I'm gonna look into that because I like that idea.
I can get down. I can get down on that. You got to hold on. I'm gonna text my bartender and see if she can deliver me a beer, so I don't have to get up. The cool thing about doing your podcast.
You need to have one of those QR codes
it's
on
like,
your table.
I can't leave the computer. We're broadcasting. Just bring a beer my way. That's awesome.
Yeah. Do you think that would work if I said, to my wife, I need a refill? Do you think that would work in my favor? No.
I don't think that would work in my house either.
Well, my bartender it'll work. So
yes, I agree with that.
Oh man.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
But
George, I can't wait for COVID to be over so you can come down and check out the brewery.
Yeah,
down
I'm with
here.
you, man.
A cool little spot that I have going on here.
It really is nice.
I did see this one system that if I got it, I might consider getting on a plane because it kind of makes you look like an astronaut DJ. Let me see if I can find it.
Astronaut.
Yeah, trust me. When you see it, you're gonna know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
But, anyway, so my brewing's on hold for now. But what about you, Jason?
I brewed a Baltic Porter. Actually, since the last time that we broadcasted, I just remembered because last week was Thanksgiving. We have not had a webcast in 2 weeks now.
We have not.
So, yes. So I had
My bartender.
cheers. You're a champ, bringing Paulie beer in the middle of the webcast. Okay. So I had a brew day in the garage. The weather held up, which I'm very thankful for. It was a brewing project that a lot of things went wrong, and I'll go through those. So the Baltic Porter is an imperial lager with an original gravity, the target of I think it was 1078 is what I was targeting, and the amount of yeast needed to ferment at that gravity for a lager was roughly about 700 billion cells.
Damn.
So,
Okay.
so I have pictures of just the size of this yeast starter, and it was massive. It was, I had to go out and buy a gallon-sized jar just to have that done. So, my temperature-controlled fridge froze over the yeast starter after one night on the stir plate.
Oh no.
And the reason for that is because our old trusty Inkbird, the temperature probe decided to die on me
Oh no.
and kept the freezer running and running and running, and of course it froze over the yeast starter because it just never turned off.
So you
So-
cryogenically froze your starter. Did it
Yeah.
recover?
Yeah, it did. So I brought it up to room temperature, defrosted it, brought the yeast and had that on the stir plate for 48 hours at room temperature, which I didn't want to do, but I had no other choice. So I had to go to Amazon to replace the Inkbird, which I did. And right before I pitched the yeast, I had the new Inkbird. And I think I had enough time to cultivate enough yeast to get that to ferment. And
Okay.
it's been on the yeast now for 10 days.
What kind of lagering method are you doing?
The one where you use a temperature controlled fridge and keep it at 52 degrees.
What? No, I know that, but because you're going to keep it at 52 degrees, and then you're going to bring it up for your diacetyl rest, and
Yes.
then you're going to. What's your plan for driving it down to conditioning temperature?
So what I intend to do, as soon as I am comfortable with a gravity point, I'm gonna transfer it off the yeast
Okay.
into a secondary, and then I'm gonna raise it to the diacetyl rest temperature of 68.
Okay.
And then at that point, I'm gonna incrementally bring the temperature down, probably 5 degrees a day.
Okay.
So I've done that
right.
before with my Marzens, and it's worked. So
So that's sort of a
just-
quick lager method. Probably it takes about 2 weeks to condition that way.
yeah, probably.
Okay.
And I honestly, I would hold the temperature at like 39 degrees for a longer period of time.
Right.
Just to keep the lagering going and let the beer continue to clear. So as long as I didn't mess anything up so much with the yeast starter or with the fermentation, I think I'm going to be okay.
Well, I'll tell you, I've done lager yeast completely at room temperature in a starter and
Okay.
not had a problem.
Yeah,
So I think it'd be okay.
that's probably a good question for Luis, because I've read things and saw things that alluded to that you are okay to use room temperature for a lager yeast starter, but that seems to defy a little bit of normal logic.
Well,
But
so
I don't know.
I thought about that, and here's what I came up with. So a lot of what you're trying to avoid when you're doing lager yeasts is the ester production and phenol production and things that you will have if you do it at the wrong temperature, because they're supposed to be a nice clean yeast, most of them.
Exactly.
So, but when the thing you do before you pitch the yeast typically is you'll cold crash it, you'll distillate all of the yeast, and then you'll decant off all the liquid on top of it, or at
Yes.
least most of it.
Yes,
So-
exactly.
When you do that, all those esters and phenols and things that would have been created in the starter go into that liquid, and you're decanting
And you're
that
just
off.
and you're just tossing it off. Okay,
You're tossing it away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then you have a bunch of yeast cells that, when they go in at the right temperature, can start replicating and eating cleanly, and you end up getting a good solid lager still.
so that makes perfect sense. I guess the one remaining question is, are you doing some type of damage to the yeast that's left, even the yeast that's left over, by keeping it at that temperature? And I honestly don't know what the answer is.
Yeah, I don't know what the answer. I don't think enough to have it be an issue, but I imagine maybe you're doing a little bit of damage because you're stressing them out a little bit. But
Right.
Yeah. The
You-
question.
you present a convincing argument. That does make a lot of sense.
Okay, now that Polly's back, I'm going to share this. And I swear, if you guys look at this and you don't go, hell, that is an astronaut DJ, I don't know what to tell you. So share that.
What is happening here?
So it's a sleeve. There's this helmet, and the sleeve goes, around your neck, and is pretty tight around your neck. And there's intake fans in the front that are filtered, and outtake fans on the back that are also filtered. And so you're getting filtered air in and out of this thing constantly. And yeah, so
Is this what you're gonna wear on the airplane when you come to visit?
Yeah,
That is the only way I would come to visit.
So can you buy this on Amazon for $50?
I don't know. Well, I don't know. I don't know. But it is $200. So if we want to start an Indiegogo or a Kickstarter campaign, buy George a space helmet so he can go to Chicago. I'm down.
Okay. I have a lot of questions. Okay, is this being marketed as like a protect yourself from COVID type of venture?
It's a PPE. It's a relatively new PPE device. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
This
But
is
yeah.
like some total recall bullshit that I'm seeing.
Yeah.
It's kind of super neat, and I kind of want one.
Yeah. I want one just for fun, to be honest. I'll wear it around the brewery just cause.
So yeah.
Wow. I feel like I just had a glimpse into the future. Can I buy stock in this company?
I don't. Yeah, maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember who made the dang thing. But yeah. So, but anyway, yes, that is how I would come to Chicago.
Okay. All right. Well, let's
case you're
start a
wondering.
GoFundMe page. We'll get George a
Right.
helmet, and then we get
Yeah,
some
I'll
good
throw that out.
broadcasting done.
I'm
Oh, that's
down
right.
on
It's the
that.
Air helmet.
The air
That's what
helmet.
it's called. The Air AIR helmet by a
Okay.
company called Microclimate.
Okay.
So, but yeah.
So before we close up, I have something impressive I want to show you guys. So hold the fort down. I will
Okay.
be right back.
Right.
Okay. Can we fill it with beer? Rick, that is gonna. That's going good. I was just looking at Rick's comment of, "Can we fill it with beer?" And I think not only will that kind of defeat the purpose because I will drown, but I
You
will
will drown
drown.
yourself, Uncle Rick. You'll probably drown yourself. Unless you drink that much. You will drown yourself, Uncle Rick. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's
Oh,
funny.
that is good.
But no, doing good, Polly. And yeah, I don't know if you heard. I think you were away when I was talking about this, but you know, I've decided to focus on some other things and rebuild my brewery, and so my brewing's on hold. So I'm a little depressed about that, but I think it's going to be all the better in the long run. But
For sure.
yeah. Have you pulled the trigger? Are you gotten them to pull the trigger on a Robo Brew pilot system?
I don't know if I want to pull that yet.
No?
No. Because actually after I talked to the guys from Brew and Grow, they have the Anvil system, and
Right.
it works, and they like it. But the one manager, probably because we've done it the old school way for so long, he's got arguments with it.
Right.
And if I want to do something here, I'd rather do it in my friend's system, like Uncle Rick's that I know is listening. Do something, bring it down there, and put it on.
Right.
Because I know that's true in testing. Because the whole Anvil system, just a big fucking giant brew in a bag system. That's
Right.
really
Well, most of those type of systems are. Yeah.
yeah.
So
And, like brew in a bag or batch sparge, I'm not against it. If that's what you have to work with, have at it.
right.
If efficiencies are there, and you're making a quality beer, have at it. But
Yeah.
I've heard some arguments where guys have been doing it just as long as I have, and I take those things into consideration. If I were going to do a 5-gallon pilot system here, I would probably do. I couldn't do propane because I don't have a hood big enough. Unless I could. I just had to pull out my HLT and my mash tun and everything and put it off in the corner. It can be done. Because I have 220 hookups too. As long as my
I think I sometimes wonder if craft breweries don't shoot themselves in the foot by not having a pilot system. Test something out, be a little crazy on a small scale and see if that's something you want to scale up, you know? Because otherwise you either don't do it because you're scared that you might not have a good result, or you have to do it at a 3, 7, 15 barrel size, and there's risks associated with that.
The beautiful thing I have going on here right now is, because our system, I yield about 2.5 barrels, so 5 kegs. I have 2 fermenters where I can do 5 barrels, which is almost 10 kegs. And they're all like, just keep doing the small batches so we figure out what's going on.
Right.
If it sells quickly, we'll scale it up to 5 barrels. All right. So that's kind of where I'm working at right now. So everything I'm pumping out is all small scale.
Okay. All right.
Smaller. Out of the 2 fermenters I have. I only have 2 5-barrel fermenters.
So,
Huh?
oh, sorry. I was just remembering that thing that Jason showed us, and something tripped in my brain, and I was like, is that the Devil's Backbone logo?
No.
No. Okay, I thought I saw
Breckenridge.
Breckenridge. Okay. So it's a how big is that?
So this is a retail-sized mini keg.
Okay.
And this is, so you can go to a store and you can buy a mini keg sized at 1.3 gallons with its own custom little dispenser right here.
Oh,
so if you want to pour, it is. If you want to pour the beer, all you got to do is twist this 90 degrees.
Okay.
That's literally it.
Is it able to maintain its pressure?
Yeah, supposedly. Yeah, I mean, it comes pre-pressurized. And honestly, I think they sell this thing for like $15 at places, so it's not prohibitively expensive.
No, not for a gallon of beer. Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think this is genius. I really do.
I
don't know who else. No, you know what? This was gifted to me, so
Okay.
I'm not even sure what stores you can buy this at. But
well, that's a good gift for Jason. The only thing you could do that would be better than that is maybe find like some what's that? Warlock in that in a mini keg like that.
oh, that's so mean of you to even tease me with that. Oh my god, that you want to talk about my dream? To have a mini keg of Warlock. That's a fantasy come true. We got a question in the chat here, George, and this was directed directly at you.
It's directed towards you, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and well, I think we know what the answer is with your brewing on hold, but you've not gotten more experience with the digital airlock, have you?
I have not. No, I still have it here, and it is. I did buy a larger rubber stopper because I plan on not only using it for my beer but also for my starters. So I did buy a larger rubber stopper that will fit on a 2-liter Erlenmeyer flask. So, but no, I mean, that's part of what really is, I'm looking at going, do I want to do one more, before I rip things apart too much? Because that I really do want to try the digital airlock, and I just,
I just want to say to Breckenridge Brewery, located out in Colorado, that I am available for hire as a pitchman.
Okay.
Because I feel like I just proved myself to be the best advertiser of this product that you will ever find.
Well, I'll tell you what. All they got to do.
Oh, fact, Jason, you didn't hold it up, and you were
All right.
He's tempted.
I would argue, Polly, that I think this is calling out to many, many more of the beer drinking community than if I were just to be like,
Yeah.
We'll save that for we'll save that for the after show. I'll chug the rest of this thing among the three of us.
I can't
Deal?
wait.
grab a screwdriver and punch a hole and do like shotgun there.
Shotgun, you motherfucker, yeah.
That's what the show is missing is us shotgunning beer.
Oh man.
right.
Well, so Jason, all people have to do if they want to show their support and tell Breckenridge that they need to do a sponsorship is just put in offer code Jason at checkout.
Yeah.
And you
Work
know,
that brewing, girl. I'll tell you that.
yeah, yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, listen, Breckenridge, we have a Facebook page, we have a website, we have Instagram, Twitter, we have all these things. Come talk to us.
Yeah.
We're ready to talk anytime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're
do
very easy to reach and we're very responsive.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man.
Oh, good stuff.
Oh, that's great.
Is that everything for tonight?
I think
that's
it is, fellas.
I'm calling night.
All right. Paulie, you've had quite a day. 12 hours at the brewery?
Yeah.
Well, not quite 12, but
Well, I'm on 10. I got here at
Yeah.
9, so.
at 9. Oh, gosh, you've had quite a day. All right. Well, let's wrap this up. Check out our audio podcast being released tomorrow morning, December 4th. If you're hearing this live broadcast, it'll be tomorrow morning. If you're hearing this broadcast after the fact, it'll be available now. So check out iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, or any other podcasting platform for A Nice Place to Brew. For those people out there that are listening on a computer, you can go to soundcloud.com, search for A Nice Place to Brew, and the full archive of A Nice Place to Brew audio podcast will be located there. So whatever your platform is, check it out, and I hope you enjoy the episode. Again, the subject is going to be the Pabst Blue Ribbon Award from the 1893 Chicago World's Fair. Closing up from that, we do our webcast here every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Central Time. It's available on YouTube and Facebook. All of our past webcasts are available on our YouTube page. It dates back to the beginning of the COVID quarantine. We've built quite a library, so if you can't wait till next Thursday, check out our back catalog on YouTube or check out our audio podcast. Our website is www.aniceplacetobrew.com. Our social media links are A Nice Place to Brew and Nice Place to Brew on all the major platforms. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening and watching. Hope you have a great weekend, and we close out every show by raising a glass, and we say, it takes a lot of good beer to make great beer.
Great beer. Cheers.
Cheers.